All 4 teams in the semifinals will be moving on to the Invitational coming up next weekend. So that really is something around $2,400 on the line, $2,500 on the line coming up next weekend. So that's a pretty big deal. As Breaky said today, only $500, but still that pride factor always on the line. We have 2 European Goliaths here facing off 2 teams that we will be seeing in the DreamHack event coming up in a couple weeks here in Sweden, so this should be an interesting taste of the matches to come.
Yeah, it definitely should be. Of course, yesterday we did get the chance to see Fnatic Raycall with the same roster for that matter, as you may notice. Fntc, of course, playing in place of Nova for Fnatic Raycall here. But, of course, we talked about yesterday, too. You know, Fntc, fantastic support player himself, so not necessarily the biggest loss, at least in a skill sense. But we did get the chance to see them play against Orange Esports Malaysia, another team that's going to be going to DreamHack, of course, the Southeast Asian region, and that was definitely a fun match to watch. But Fnatic Raycall, of course, coming out on top there, which is why they are here at this point. But yeah, Fnatic Raycall, big question of theirs is how well are they going to play? Because they have been inactive, they have been spending some time on Dota 2 and doing some other things. Obviously, with the DreamHack event coming up, you know, you like to think that they are going to start focusing on home once again and really putting their efforts into it. But I don't know if that necessarily has happened just yet. And of course, you know, BlackFade.org, this is a chance to prove for Fnatic that if they are still a team to definitely be scared of here.
Yeah, definitely right. Another thing to note here, BxF actually going to use a ringer as well. Pablo McDad going to be playing in place of, who are they missing today? I'm totally drawing a blank on Les QQ.
Yeah, that's right.
Les QQ. So, unfortunately, he's not going to be here today. I'm actually not so familiar with Pablo McDad. Is that a familiar face for you, Break?
Yeah, he's not necessarily, again, he's kind of one of those players that's not like, oh my god, it's Pablo McDad, but at the same time, it's he's been around the competitive scene, and he definitely is a solid player at that. I believe he's actually playing with that 15 team, the one that with Bassett's in crew,
okay.
So if I'm not mistaken, I mean, I might be wrong on that, but I believe that is the case. So,
of course, 15, one of the teams that qualified in the Gosu May Open #1, so they will be in the Invitational next weekend. Another team that we haven't gotten to see too much, which should be interesting.
Yeah.
Certainly looking forward to as well. Anyhow, let's get into the bands. We do have a best-of-3 series coming up here, guys. So we're going to see at least 2 matches between these 2 teams, possibly even 3. Of course, It's Gosu is covering the other set of semifinals. I believe it is a Mr. Swindlemelons and a Ms. Sneaky on the It's Gosu own 3D stream, and it is Team It's Gosu versus, I almost said Black Fade, Frenetic Array.
Yes.
So the finals, of course, coming up directly after on the It's Gosu stream. So
man, this invitational, it really we've pointed that out a couple times, but it's shaping up to be a hell of an invitational. Maybe one of the best, maybe the best one that we've had so far with all these It's Gosus. I mean, obviously last week we had the first qualifiers with SGTY Trademark Esports 15 and blanking on the fourth one. Why am I blanking on the fourth one? It was A-Man, that's right, Peter Pan Dam's team. So those 4, of course, joining Fnatic, Team It's Gosu, BlackFade.org, and Frenetic Array. So you think of that 8-team roster right there. I mean, that's a hell of an invitational. So I really can't wait for that portion of this event as well.
Yeah, I mean, a hell of a time as well with DreamHack right around the corner. Pretty much everyone is looking for as much practice as they can get, and this is kind of that crunch time right before a big event where teams are really going to start practicing hard, and it'll give us a little bit of a prelude into what these teams bring to the table, and maybe, you know, of course, always with that Honkest top 10, there's plenty of room for fluctuation, so very excited. Anyhow, but let's go ahead and take a look at the bans here as this game is progressing in a nice timely manner here. First ban from Fly going to be on Parasite, followed up by Mage Vein, Keeper of the Forest, Silhouette, Armadon, Ophelia, Pebbles, and Demented Shaman. So fairly straightforward banning pool as always, though a couple interesting things to note. Parasite one that we haven't seen banned quite as much, at least in the past couple games we've seen banned here. And actually 2 agility heroes banned, which is somewhat of a rarity in this day and age.
It is, but the funny thing about that, of course, again, speaking of yesterday when we casted Fnatic versus Orange Esports, Magebane, played by Era, had yet again such an impressive performance when it comes to farming on that hero. He finished the game with, I think, 750 gold per minute, or something ridiculous like that. So I'm guessing Black Fade banned Magebane. I had to clear my chat, unfortunately, so I don't have it in front of me. But yeah, I'm guessing that was the case. And then, of course, so yeah, there you go. So that Silhouette, of course, too. You know, just really one of those heroes that has just been so powerful in the competitive scene, as well as kind of that carry focus. So yeah, it really, other than those two to talk about, not too much to say, as you kind of already mentioned as well. So, but the pick's definitely happening here. Let's start with Black Fade's side. So of course they went with the Tundra, Wretched Hag, Tempest, and Glacius here. So far, that's a team fight, team if I ever saw one. A lot of synergy over there for Black Fade. Wow, though, look at Fnatic right there. How about that?
Yeah, how about that indeed? They're actually going to go for the Dark Lady pick. So in lieu of Magebane, Era's still going to find a hard carry to enjoy.
The great thing about that, of course, is, again, it seems like we're relating so much to yesterday as far as them against Orange, but, of course, Orange, they picked up Dark Lady to fight against the Magebane. That was a lot of fun to watch that match because of that, but Dark Lady has proven and is a very, very powerful hard carry if you can get that, you know, the Rune Cleaver on her, and then eventually the Shrunken Head. Once you get those two items, she will take off. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Era progresses on her. And also one of those hard carries as well that can hit very hard because of those Dark Blades early on in the game. So yeah, very, very excellent choice here by Fnatic. And once again, going with more of the melee agility carry focus, which it seems like more and more teams are starting to pick back up once again. So looking forward to seeing how that finishes for them. Overall, though, too, I mean, fantastic lineup over there on Cores on Fnatic. As Puppet Master, though, is the final pick for Black Fade. How about that?
A lot of interesting picks in this match, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. What's interesting about seeing Era play Dark Lady here is, of course, as you mentioned, the last game we saw yesterday was a Magebane versus Dark Lady battle with Fnatic and Orange Esports, and Era actually was on the Magebane side of things. So here we're going to get to see, you know, any kind of differences on that play style with a Dark Lady. So just kind of back-to-back games, seeing him on different hard carries should certainly be interesting, at least for those of us that were privileged to watch that epic round of 8 match yesterday to finish things off. But, wow, going to be a hell of a match. Puppet Master is a really interesting last pick. You know, seeing that Dark Lady, I almost thought they might pick a team maybe a little bit more focused on pushing, winning in the early to mid-game, but instead they go with that Puppet Master, who kind of does fit into that scenario a little bit, but does have some carry potential as well, though not as much as Dark Lady. So sort of interesting how that pick worked out.
Of course, the big thing about a Puppet Master, and that we like to bring up when we do see the hero, especially in a matchup like this, is he is considered to be a very good counter melee carry hero. And obviously the reason for that is because the double CC of his, one being the Puppet's hold is powerful, but two, the Puppet Show is very powerful against the melee because usually going to be next to somebody else, if not that creep wave, and will lock them in place for a good amount of time. So yeah, Puppet Show, very powerful tool to use against a melee carry. So I do think a lot of that Puppet Master pick had simply to do with the fact that they saw that they're going up against a Dark Lady, so they're like, you know what, we need someone that can maybe compete a little bit at least against that Dark Lady, but could also be very powerful against her. And I think Puppet Master definitely fits that role very well. So I like that last pick there from Black Fade.
And that's actually a good point. I hadn't quite thought it through in that way, but you definitely make some great points. One of the other things to know as well, Tundra, I mean, he really works well at shutting down one of those hard carries. As you said, once Dark Lady gets that Rune Cleaver and Shrunken Head, that's when she's going to start to take off. But, of course, Tundra's ultimate goes straight through Shrunken Head, dropping, you know, a 3.5, 4-second stun. And that can be absolutely huge to locking her down, even with Shrunken Head. At the very least, maybe just to use defensively to stop her from totally going on a rampage. Especially in that later game, when that Shrunken Head gets down to 5 seconds, being able to lock her down for 4 of those 5 seconds can become quite valuable.
Yeah, it can be indeed. So we are sitting in the pause here, obviously, to start this game, our typical competitive pause to get things started here. As you mentioned, this is a best out of 3, so this is just the first game here in this best out of 3 semifinal matchup, and we will be done with coverage after this. This is our coverage for today, but the tournament will go on. Of course, as you mentioned earlier as well, that will be covered by the It's Gosu casting team, who are covering their semifinals, and then eventually the finals after this. So plenty of Han coverage today all around the board for you guys to enjoy. So we do thank you for tuning in on this holiday weekend here. Memorial Day weekend, of course, as it looks like we are coming out of the pause. But, man, I mean, this is a hell of a matchup. I really am intrigued that, again, with both teams kind of using a ringer, so it takes away a little bit from it, but not, you know, not enough to make it not matter at all. But, again, big questions about Fnatic. You know, how are they going to play because of their inactivity to an extent lately on the Han competitive scene, and against a team like Black Fade, who have been one of the much more respected teams as of late, not only in their demeanor but of the results as well, of course, including being the third place team, of course, in our recent top 10 rankings. this is a chance for Fnatic to prove a lot that just because they haven't taken a little bit of a break doesn't mean that they can't come back and still be very, very powerful on the scene. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, from what we saw yesterday, Era played a fantastic Mage Bane, so it would seem Era's skills as an accomplished carry farmer have not diminished too much as far as their time taking a break from Han and playing a little bit more Dota 2. So that's definitely good news, but I'm curious as well. And that's one of the things we talked about a lot yesterday, like you said. And, we got a little taste of Fnatic, and of course they did win as they moved on here to the semifinals. So that is good news. I don't think we got to see any Black Fade yesterday, so I'll be curious to see how they perform in this tournament. Like you said, with a ringer, does take away a little, but still intrigued nonetheless. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. I'm excited.
Excited!
I'm excited.
Yeah! It's and the good thing about this too is, again, with both of these lineups being very, very solid, but at the same time, we definitely got a little bit of a curveball on either side, of course, with that Dark Lady and the Puppet Master. So, as far as the lanes are concerned, though, as unfortunately we are in another pause here, but the lanes, at least we're getting an idea of what we can expect to see, and there are some interesting things to talk about here. The bottom lane, of course, is Bubbles versus Wretched Hag, so that'll be a pretty solid 1-versus-1 matchup down there. I think Wretched Hag may have a little bit better time being played by Keizu, matched up against No Tail there, simply because of the short lane, while Wretched Hag is a very powerful solo hero. But the middle lane is the one that really intrigues me. Glacia's Puppet Master, they're going to be going up against a Torturer Meraxes. So Torturer, we're going to be seeing playing as more of a support role in this case, I would think, this time around. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that does.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, Meraxes with the hatchet in the inventory usually signifies he's going to be picking up that early farm. So it'll be interesting if Fly stays fairly stationary in this mid lane or if he roams around a lot. And that's really going to be kind of interesting. And I don't know that he's really going to need to roam too much, given that the Legion team does have a jungler and the Hellborn team does not. That does leave us for the top lane here, where it is a Luna Dark Lady for Fnatic going to be facing off against a solo Tundra. So all arrows are pointing to this Dark Lady starting things off by having a pretty damn good time.
Yeah, she is. And it does make me wonder if BxF may want to switch things up a little bit in terms of maybe moving the Glacia's Puppet Master lane to that top lane, being the double ranged and against the Luna Dark Lady. I would think that they should be able to have a very good time up there and also counter Dark Lady to an extent. And obviously Tundra, that would suck for him in the middle lane, but that would also be a little bit better for Tundra in the middle lane. At least he can leech a little bit better experience, at least that's the idea, and use those piercing shards to get the occasional creep hits. So I would think, and I don't know if they're going to make that adjustment, but something tells me BxF, they were kind of hoping that would be the case, but obviously that isn't here. But Torturer isn't necessarily sitting next to Meraxes. He is doing a little bit of pulling in the jungle in the meantime. Meraxes is taking a lot of pressure there in the middle lane, obviously realizing that Torturer's not nearby, and well, that's Puppet Master Glacius is actually a pretty dangerous combination. It is something that we have seen before. That Ice Imprisonment sets up, on the Puppet Show on top of the Puppet Soul. That's a lot of CC that you have to deal with when you go up against this combination. So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, I think Point and K is right there in the mid. I mean, Meraxes is left alone for a matter of 10 seconds or so, and they already drop all of that damage onto him. And between the two, I mean, they still have a lot of mana to show for it, so there's really nothing stopping them from doing exactly what they just did to Meraxes over and over again. Time and time again, I think, is the appropriate saying there. Taking a look at the farms, though, still fairly even across the board as we're now just approaching that 2-minute mark. Dark Lady leading the way for the Hellborn side, though her farm isn't too spectacular. We see a Luna actually is not spending too much time in the lane, just going to go ahead and pick up a triple stack here at the full camp, as it's not warded, interestingly enough. That's a little bit surprising to me to see BxF opt just kind of not to ward the pull that the hard carries in.
Yeah, that is definitely an interesting choice, and I'm actually looking around, but by the way, Glacius maybe in a little bit of trouble. Nice chain reaction, still going to come out. There's that quick on top of the power throw, and Glacius absolutely going to fall. In fact, Fly going to get credit for the last hit right there, and will take the Bloodlust kill. So obviously a case of going for that top rune. Unfortunately for Glacius, Meraxes got there first, and even with a Luna being nearby to support, there was not much Glacius was going to do after that. So just a great catch by Fnatic, happening to come out on top right there. So, but yeah, going back to your point though, I am looking around, and yeah, that's obviously choosing to place a ward side up here at their own Ancient. That's a very unique spot, and I do wonder, what the exact reasoning is. I mean, it definitely sees that top rune, so I guess it's just more of a defensive minded rune in case a Luna wants to come in and set some ganks from that side. But that's actually pretty unique from what at least I'm used to seeing. But the other ward is actually still on Glacius. He actually hasn't placed it yet. So, but you are right. I mean, choosing not to block that camp, it's very interesting. It's almost as if Black Fade is making a statement here of Dark Lady's going to get farm. We're not going to really care too much about that early on. We're going to hope that our other lanes are very successful and we take over the game that way. But this is a big, risky move here by Black Fade, I think.
Yeah, that makes me a little bit nervous. I mean, Dark Lady in general would make me nervous in that situation, but also in the hands of Era. I mean, he's just one of those carry players that a lot of respect in the scene. He's been around for a long time with a lot of success over the ages. And allowing him to sort of free farm or just do his thing is really a scary place to be in. Puppet Master's farm so far actually is ahead of Dark Lady, so, you know, at least there may be this timing window. Puppet Master going to peak a little bit earlier, have a little more utility than Dark Lady early on, especially before that Shrunken Head comes out. So perhaps that's what they're banking on, just looking for that timing window, Tempest with that pushing power, you know, looking for that level 10, level 11 mark where, yeah, maybe with some great free farm, Dark Lady will have a Rune Cleaver by then, maybe the first piece of the Shrunken Head, but other than that, they're still going to have enough CC to take her down. That could certainly be a viable strategy here. You know, as you mentioned, that picking phase, a lot of synergy on this Legion side between all the disable and AoE damage.
Yeah, very true. Definitely a lot of crowd control here on this Legion team. A point that we can't stress enough in this game, and that is the big point that we brought up when Orange Esports was playing Fnatic. To go back to that game once again, that when the Arrow was playing Magebane, of course. The big difference, though, is that Magebane, with that blink ability, he can blink over ledges and whatnot, and it's even a longer range, whereas, as we talked about this yesterday again, the charging strikes, it does not go over terrain like the blink does from Magebane. So if you happen to catch her, slow her down, you'll have that much better of a chance to actually get the kill into her. So it definitely takes away a little bit from her blink away potential and getting out of those sticky situations like a Magebane can.
Yeah, definitely right. You know, and again, to talk about Dark Lady, I mean, her ultimate is one it's pretty powerful as well. You know, she does bring a little bit more to the table in those big team fights than Magebane, I suppose you could say, at least as an initiation tool with that ultimate, which can be severely disorienting. Still interesting, though. Pretty much a pretty quiet game to start things off, though. 5 minutes in, and we see only one kill on the board. But, wow, talk about a big lead for this Legion side. Already 1.2k gold, 1.8k experience ahead. And they're actually the team that didn't pick up that kill to start things off. So really interesting how they're getting the much more effective farm here to start things off in the laning phase.
Yeah, it's, I mean, overall, the GPM, it's, well, yeah, it definitely is in favor of the Legion team. Let's look at whether the Puppet Master versus a TDL. And even Puppet Master is definitely winning that even. So I believe Steam Boots are going to be coming to him right here. Yeah, he will have Steam Boots now. Meanwhile, back at the top lane, though, Dark Lady chasing down Tundra. That power throw going to finish him off right there. So good job. Obviously, Era going to get credit for the assist right there, but Aluna going to come through with the kill. So you just mentioned lack of action here early on. Definitely right, but right there, at least another kill happening in favor of Fnatic. And like I said, Dark Lady getting the assist for that even. So very, very good news for her, as her GPM will pretty much now be tied with that of Dark Lady. But going the Ring of Teacher into the Life Tube, of course, no boots just yet. We'll see if she doesn't choose to go the boots. And that is something that we did see. I keep going back to it, but it's so weird out. These things are just popping up as of yesterday. Okay, she does get the boots right there, so it's not going to be anything too crazy, but not to bring that up. But anyway, massive push here in the middle lane in the meantime. Look at Tempest coming in with those big minions, and this tower's dropping fast. Very likely could fall right here in their favor.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Illusion Rune as well, helping to help with that pushing power, so certainly a good opportunity to try and capitalize on. There is that one last Glaive Thrower, and it's not going to get that tower in deny range, so certainly good news for BxF. It looks like they're going to slow down on the pushing power here and probably come in for a tower kill. Tempest is level 6, though, does have that ultimate off cooldown, so they could very easily set something up here. If Fnatic isn't careful, the tower is going to fall into the deny range now, and they're going to go for this. Aluna going to come in from the back, will drop a stun, but going to get frozen in return. The tower is going to fall. Tempest going to be the one to pick up that last hit. And we see Puppet Master taking just a little bit of damage here. No kill's going to come out, obviously. Tempest going to save that ultimate for another time. So a nice early tower push for BxF, just going to further their gold lead a little bit here. Now about 7.5 minutes in.
Yeah, using the Dark Lady ultimate right there. That was a tactic by Fnatic to try to scare the Black Fade team away so they could get the deny. But you got to give credit to Black Fade right there. I mean, they were affected by that Dark Lady ultimate, but they stood their ground, figuring that they had the numbers and they were confident that they could still get the tower kill, and they accomplished that. So that was actually a pretty solid play by Black Fade right there, not letting Fnatic's scare tactics intimidate them. necessarily as they attempted to do right there. So, and it is unfortunate, though, I think also for Fnatic that Bubbles doesn't have a homecoming stone, wasn't able to port to that middle lane. If he was maybe able to port to that middle lane after the invulnerability was used and came in there with a Kelp Field and his combo, maybe they could have actually done something. But again, wasn't able to, so the tower went down, and Black Fade comes out on top of that fight right there. So you look at that GPM chart once again, and it is definitely becoming more and more obvious. Things looking pretty good here for Black Fade, but Darkly does remain, or it has actually taken over now the top farm in the game, and it is taken off. So you do kind of wonder, when is that point going to come here for Black Fade of really starting to focus on this Dark Lady now and paying attention to her?
Yeah, and that's certainly a good thing to bring up because, I mean, again, looking at this GPM chart, Dark Lady is leagues ahead of everyone else on her team, while Black Fade, everyone's pretty much on par. You know, Tundra and Glacius kind of the two lower ones, but even Tundra, he's on par with everyone else on the Hellborn side at only 180 GPM. And in that bottom lane, I mean, Wretched Hag has been doing some pretty serious work against Bubbles down here, actually leading the way for the Legion side, well above 300 GPM, while Bubbles only at about 185. And look at that level difference as well. Hag sitting level 8, while Bubbles only level 6. So No Tail definitely having a rough time in this bottom lane against Kezu, as you noted earlier on in this match.
Yeah, that's again more great news for Black Fade as a result of that. You look at Glacius right here; he's kind of chomping through the woods or the trees, trying to get in range to maybe set something up this Dark Lady. Obviously, Avalanche is ready for Tundra, so if Glacius can get close enough for his Ice Imprisonment, and even Tempest can get in there, they could definitely pull off a kill. I mean, they want to get this going. In fact, Tempest going to charge in. Nope, he's just going to spawn the minions. They figure it's not going to happen, so they're just going to try to maybe push this instead. And that's exactly what they're going to do. So those level 3 minions are up from Tempest. So here comes that tower push, and going to start taking a little bit of damage. Not going to be destroyed by any means, but going to start chipping away at it for the eventual tower kill. So for now, it is just going to be Dark Lady and a Luna are going to stay up top here until more numbers are actually needed. But while that's happening, Torture doing his thing in the middle lane, and Moraxis and Bubbles down here at the bottom lane trying to prevent this Wretched Hag from getting too much of a push, as well as maybe even helping out Bubbles to kind of recover himself, as you were addressing. So Black Fade, I mean, they seem to have very good control of this game overall right now, when you look at the lanes and how things are playing out at this time.
Yeah, I mean, every lane won except that top lane, and Tundra still did a reasonably good job. We see the ports coming in as the tower falls, so No Deny going to come out. Bubble's going to use that Kelp Field, as you mentioned. Era is going to be able to secure that kill onto Tundra. Tempest going to fall as well, and we'll see, are they going to be able to finish off Glacius here? Luna is going to find him, and it looks like Glacius is going to go down. Not a hell of a lot he can do to survive this situation as he does fall. The Tempest Elemental is still alive, actually doing a hell of a lot of damage, knocking the potion off of Torture. It looks like Fly is going to be just fine. Never underestimate the damage those elementals can do. Down here in the bottom lane, Moraxis did stand duty to keep this tower safe and sound, and it's just 4 hit points outside of deny range. So Kezu, still awaiting that opportunity to finish off that tower here in the bottom lane.
Yeah, that was obviously a much better fight in favor of Fnatic right there with how it played out, and I think that was just better coordination on their part overall. It's, they happened to catch the Legion team off guard. Great homecoming stone port in, and that's especially with a hero like Bubbles, what he can accomplish. He is so good at that. We see that so often where he ports in, he sets up that Shell Surf nuke, and he ports it on top of that with the Kelp Field. So and as another example of that right there, I mean, not even having more axes in that team fight and they still won it as well as they did is pretty good news for Fnatic. But again, the bad news that continues to be, you look at the overall picture, and I still think Black Fade is pretty comfortable with where they're at. I mean, we're only 11.5 minutes in, so still very early on, but at the same time, Dark Lady's farm continues to rise and rise, and I have trouble sitting here saying the Legion team hasn't really addressed that yet because they were just up there attempting to set up some ganks and obviously doing some pushing, but she managed to stay alive through it all, and in fact enhance her farm even, and now she is over the 400 GPM mark. Meanwhile, the bottom lane, Glacius going to take out. Bubbles wants to port out before he gets taken out as well, and he will be successful with that. The red stun going to come out onto Wretched Hag, the power throw on top. Not going to be enough for the kill, though. It looks like a turnaround's going to be happening. A Luna will end up falling, so it ends up being a 1-for-1, but yeah, that Dark Lady, man, I mean, she is starting to get pretty crazy here.
Yeah, that little exchange in the bottom lane was pretty back and forth as far as Hag dropping the Bat Blast to try and keep Glacius alive, but unfortunately didn't have enough mana to follow up with the Sonar Scream and finish off any of those kills, most notably Bubbles, who ported out with considerably low HP. So kind of unfortunate, but nice awareness from Tempest and Tundra to come over and set up that kill to make it at least an even exchange. But you're right, I mean, this Legion side, they still are in a pretty comfortable spot, given that it's 1-6 in the way of hero kills. I mean, they have a nice gold lead and starting to pull ahead in experience again by a small margin, but still, Kind of incredible that they're able to curb that deficit, still being behind 5 kills this early on. Kind of interesting how well their laning phase has gone. Again, looking at the GPM chart, I think that kind of explains it. Dark Lady, really the only one from Fnatic Raid Call who's had solid farm at all.
Yeah, I mean, no one else can get any type of farm here for Fnatic, and that continues to be the case. I figured that maybe that was a case of just very early on, but they're going to start recovering. That hasn't happened. I mean, Moraxis went to the bottom lane eventually, and even Bubbles, it's not like Bubbles was doing good, but Maxis went down there maybe to pick up some farm himself. But, I mean, he hasn't really enhanced. So, it does make you wonder how powerful of a hero Dark Lady can be if her supporting cast isn't necessarily there. Where on the other hand, for BxF, overall as a team, they're looking very good. 4 to the 5 heroes over 200 gold per minute, including Puppet Master and Retrodac really up there. But we see Bubble jumping in with that count. But the song of the secret to be used, helping to kill Glacius. Dark Lady jumps in on the Tundra as well, and Tundra will go to the ground before he can even get his avalanche off. Here comes Tempest, though, and Puppet Master porting in, and they're going to try to set up a turnaround. That Tempest ultimate, it wasn't canceled immediately. I believe he canceled it himself, actually. You just saw the beginning of it, but they end up getting the kill on a Dark Lady, so that's the important thing right there, as Retrodac blinks in to finish her off. But you could tell Pablo McDad, it was a big stutter. It was a case of, I want to do this, but at the last second, don't want to. But unfortunately, he ended up using it already. But anyways, they get the call on the Dark Lady, like I said, so that is the good news there for Black Fade.
Yeah, that definitely is a positive amongst some negatives there. I think all things, at the end it was a 2-for-1 exchange after it was all said and done. Bubbles did, of course, have that double damage to start things off, so that made his initiation onto Glacius a little bit easier to secure a nice, easy kill. But you're right. I mean, if that ultimate had ticked a bit more, I mean, I don't know that things would have gone too differently by the end of that fight, as Dark Lady ended up falling anyhow. But very unfortunate. Got to be very cautious and not to right-click too ferociously as you're going to cast that ultimate. We do see in the mid, Puppet Master going to be in some trouble, and Invisible Morax is going to initiate this. He is going to miss that last Quake, I think. Is Puppet Master going to be able to survive this? He is going to pull the strings of Moraxis, though he does turn for that one last auto attack, and Moraxis is able to finish him off. Now we see Tundra on the aggressive here. He's finished off No Tail, and he is going to be able to finish off Hani as well as Glacius drops that freeze. So well played by Unzai to pick up a double tap here, now sitting 3-3-0.
Yeah, that was just happened to be perfect timing, really, on Tundra's part, although he wasn't able to end up saving Puppet Master, getting that double tap kill in return. Definitely got a little bit of revenge at the very least. But yeah, Puppet Master could have lived right there. I mean, that was very, very close, no doubt. But again, in the end,
let me reset Scud Call.
Sure.
Fast.
Hello.
Hello. We're blessed with one of those great Microsoft servers.
Yay.
Yay, now you sound like the real Breaky CPK, not his robotic servant.
Not his auto-tune. Alright, so anyways though, but yeah, that was definitely a good turnaround there in the middle lane by Mzai, so...
I feel like SmackDonald could have survived that. It looked like at the very end he stuttered and was just about to throw that...
I think he got hit by the axe though, anyway, so
it
really wouldn't have mattered, yeah.
Yeah, alright.
Whether he was in range or not, but yeah, I mean, he tried. He definitely tried right there. Just wasn't to be for Puppet Master. Speaking of Puppet Master, by the way, he's got the Whispering Helm and now has purchased that broadsword. So we'll be going the Assassin Shroud next, not double Whispering Helm. That'd be pretty weird, but. Yeah, going to be going the Assassin Shroud follow-up, so that's something one of the few heroes that we see in our game where an Assassin Shroud is a very, very core item on him, of course. So Puppet Master going for that, no big surprise there. Tempest, how's he coming along? He's got 2,000 gold saved up. Meanwhile, at the bottom lane, Retrodac actually going to get jumped right here. The red power throw will actually hit as well, so Keizu dropping a little bit of life, but she blinked into the trees, and it looks like that it's enough to escape, as the Hellborn side is going to start falling back, and for a very good reason, because all of a sudden you see the other heroes pop out of the air, or pop out of nowhere from the Legion team, and, well, they fell back in time. So good getaway, though, from Keizu coming out against the duo. But Tempest, he is very close to that portal key, in fact, should have it after clearing up these creep camps here. So he'll have a portal key with the Ring of Sorcery and Steam Boots, and that'll be more good news for them. I do wonder if Mzai on Tundra is going to be looking to get that portal key as soon as possible as well, really enhancing their initiation opportunity and taking advantage, of all the lockdown that they have, especially against that Dark Lady as we keep going back to. So I really think that portal key, very, very important on him too. But Dark Lady, man, I mean, she still continues. Eric does this so often. And by the way, look at that purchase right there. He actually just purchased an Abyssal Skull. So Dark Lady going the Abyssal Skull route, that's definitely going to help him with some lifesteal presence, but also some good armor. And, you know, Puppet Master is going to be start dishing out more and more physical damage as this game goes on. That will greatly help against that as well as for the whole team. So, that's definitely a unique item pickup, I think, but I can see why he went it, but it will delay that Shrunken Head now, so that's the only concern here.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, although at this point it looks like Black Fade has kind of slowed down the pressure a little bit for now. They're still farming very nicely and slightly faster than Fnatic as a team, but they're leaving that Dark Lady alone. So now that Rune Cleaver is complete, the GPM has been continuing to increase here, and Dark Lady now up to about 450 GPM. We see the power throw off in the top lane. Will connect with Hag. Looks like they are going to try to engage something. We'll see Kezu blink into the trees. He does have a Homecoming Stone, though it's stuck on cooldown for a few seconds, and doesn't look like they're going to pursue too much further. Luna going to clear some trees, but Hag going to be able to blink deeper into the forest as Dark Lady just continues to farm away in the lane. So I'll be curious. I mean, I would assume that Shrunken Head is going to be the next choice. Definitely makes the most sense to me, but we'll see. You noted that armor from the Abyssal Skull, and that's partially why I like that Whispering Helm pick so much here. And Dark Lady just getting out of there in the nick of time as Tempest PKs in, and again using that ultimate and canceling it. Oh my gosh, the second out of two. Tempest going to whiff another ult up in the top lane. Hani did finish off Mzai, although I did miss it as I was busy admiring Tempest.
Yeah, Tundra was actually really up there as you see where he died, so I missed that too. I was definitely watching that top lane, but you got to kind of wonder a little bit what perhaps he was doing all the way up there, but man, oh man, I mean, they attempted to set up that gank on a Dark Lady. I mean, the right idea from Pablo McDav, but again, just a little bit too late, and he kind of stutter steps. And, well, he ends up activating the ultimate, only to cancel it a half a second later. And, well, I mean, it really wasn't – it didn't catch him anyway, so that time it really didn't matter. But, yeah, that's just unfortunate because they definitely had a huge kill opportunity right there on him. In the meantime, Glacius is going to be dropped right here at the bottom side. There comes Tempest jumping, and we'll put the stun. Out comes a Bat Blast from Wretched Hag, and enough to kill Moraxis. So they really wanted to make sure to take him out. But, of course, it is Moraxis, so can you blame them? Obviously, didn't even activate his ultimate right there, though. I believe he was out of mana to do so. But, yeah, I mean, the thing with that, I was kind of thinking more about this Abyssal Skull pickup, too, by Dark Lady. And another benefit of it is, of course, the mana regen that it does provide. And I think, Dark Lady, if you want to even enhance her farm that much more as far as spamming her abilities, such as the Charging Strikes or even the Dark Blades against those creep waves, as we have seen her doing, that can help, keep that mana up. And also, I also think for the lifesteal aspect in general, again, farming the creep waves, not necessarily have to worry about taking too much damage, especially the jungle, can farm them without too much worry in that sense. So, but anyways, she's now up to 2,200 gold once again, 480 gold per minute. I would think Shrunken Head would be the next pickup here. I mean, against this Legion team, it just seems like, as in most games, a very powerful item to have, but we'll see what Era decides.
Yeah, exactly right. And actually going to go ahead and pick up a Firebrand
Never
here.
mind.
So looks like, I mean, I don't know. I was going to say Geometers, but that's not really a popular item on Dark Lady so much. I mean, is this going to pick up a Frostburn here?
That could be possible, and that actually would make the Abyssal Skull make that much more sense because she wants some lifesteal, but doesn't want her attack modifier to be lifesteal, of course. So maybe that Frostburn could be the choice here for
what?
Her.
Well, so Era definitely making some interesting item choices, but his farm is continuing to rise here, now well above 500 GPM, in great shape. Although Wretched Hag and Puppet Master both farming very nicely as well. Puppet Master now with that Assassin Shroud complete, sitting around actually just below 400 GPM as we see Wretched Hag, who has just recently picked up that Hellflower. So actually not even going to go Nullstone first, just straight into Hellflower, a little more kind of a glass cannon style Wretched Hag, which certainly no complaints there, but should be interesting. Of course, that Hellflower, a very powerful item to lock down really anyone on the Hellborn side, but most notably that Dark Lady. So certainly like that choice here. As both teams just sort of continue to farm fairly cautiously, still awaiting that huge cataclysmic engage.
Well, I mean, they're very cautiously farming. Again, I keep going back to this Hellborn team and just look, everyone other than the Dark Lady, how continuing to struggle they are. I mean, Bubbles has started to pick it up a little bit, 243 gold per minute, but not really compared to the Legion side right now. Tundra, though, in the meantime, is going to be dropped right here as Noto will finish him off with the snipe. The Bound Dive is going to be straight up destroyed. They already have one themselves, of course, so figuring it's not worth, carrying around another for them to take back. So they just destroy it straight up. And now they're going to go for Kongor. So that was actually a pretty damn big kill. Not only for the hero kill, but taking out that bound die does give them perhaps a little bit of map control back in that sense. And now with this Kongor kill, this will be pretty big news here for Fnatic. So if they can actually finish it, I mean, Legion team is completely blind, obviously, when it comes to that area. So I don't know if it's they have no clue or they just figure they can't fight it without Tundra. But
well, it's an interesting thought. I mean, they did have Torture in the mid lane, and usually a Kongor kill this early on, you're going to see all 5 heroes there, or certainly not one of them just farming the mid lane. So Torture are actually hanging around Fly, doing a little bit of, I don't know if we call it baiting, but just maybe a little bit of a distraction, at least having a presence on the minimap. And to complement that Abyssal Skull pickup, that makes that kill a lot easier, not only for the armor, but just the lifesteal allows Dark Lady to tank Kongor fairly easily at this point. So, again, further complementing that item pickup that we both sort of looked at and went, huh, that's kind of strange, but
this is different. Icebrand is purchased, so
definitely. So, yeah.
Frostburn on the way. There you go. So that's you were correct on that choice. There you go. With the whole Frostburn decision. So now, of course, with the Frostburn, the great thing about that item too is that you split it up and you can get the other. But I do wonder if that's actually even going to be a choice, whether or not she'll just instead go for something else. Well, maybe just raw damage at this point too, or maybe still that Shrunken Head. I would be still prove to be very, very powerful, I would think. So.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit. I mean, I just would have thought he would have picked up a Shrunken Head much sooner. But perhaps Era figures they're going to sit back. They're going to let him keep farming. He's going to delay that Shrunken Head until he absolutely has to get it. We do see in the mid lane, Puppet Master in a little bit of trouble. He's going to get the Assassin Shroud off. Not going to be much. A huge Tempest ulti though. Going to connect with all the Hellborn heroes in the area except Bubbles. But that is going to be huge for this Legion size. You see them turning it around. Meraxis left alive, and he does pick up a kill of his own. And does activate that Arcane Shield, trying to do what he can. Era's going to come in, though. He's going to finish off Kezu, and now he's in the fight. We're going to see Tundra in a little bit of trouble. I think Tempest is already headed for the hills. Indeed he is. He's in the Hellborn jungle, and he's going to try and point the hell out of there right before they catch him. So despite that Tempest ultimate catching almost everyone in the vicinity on the Hellborn side, it still ends up being a 2-for-4 exchange in favor of Fnatic Raid Call.
Yeah, that was. I don't think Puppet Master, unfortunately, was able to do a whole lot that fight either. And without him, dishing out some good damage, it definitely takes a lot away from him. But the fact that Dark Lady wasn't there and the Hellborn team did as good as they did, I think is really scary for Black Fade. The fact, obviously, she came in at the very end. I believe she did ultimate it, so technically had some impact on that match, or in that fight that was had. But also, I was just really curious. I was just going through the tabs, and I pulled up the damage tab. Pull up the damage tab real quickly. Look at Puppet Master's damage. 2% overall damage.
Huh.
That should not be happening, especially when you go something like an Assassin Shroud. After that Whispering. I mean, it's one thing not to be too involved in a game, but it's another thing to be dishing only 2% overall hero damage this game. I really find that to be very, very, very low for a hero like Puppet Master, and that is unfortunate because that's something Black Fade really needs him to be, is that kind of sit back, right-click glass cannon, and dishing out a good chunk of damage. You see right here, Bubbles is on top of him, but should be fine.
Well, I mean, exactly right. Just look at Dark Lady. This game, Era's been pretty quiet, farming away. I mean, he doesn't have. Let's look at his score here. He's on. Well, he's alright. He's 5-1-6. So I guess he's been involved in a few more fights. But I mean, even Dark Lady's at 8% damage, 4 times that of Puppet Master, and it still doesn't feel like Era's been particularly active trying to set up ganks. He's just been farming more so than anything else. But as we see, Fly going to walk into a little bit of danger here, and he may actually be able to survive this. Nope, Tundra going to come in, and he is going to fall. Bubble's going to come in here, though. A nice Keltfield coming in. A lot of heroes on this Legion side low. Wretched Hag going to be able to blink just in the nick of time. There's a take cover from Bubbles. Going to be able to PK away. Puppet Master going to activate the Assassin Shroud, but it's not going to be enough. Of course, the Bound Eye going to reveal him, and he's going to fall. The fight's still continuing, though. They're trying to engage on a Luna here. Now Tundra going to be in some trouble as Glacius heads for the hills, so it does get turned around. A 1-for-2 exchange in favor of the Hellborn side. Glacius actually going to be able to port out, though, choosing a very interesting spot. Will be able to make it. So again, Fnatic Raid Call now starting to pull ahead. 6K experience, about 4K gold ahead of Black Fade.
I think it's Fnatic is just getting way too big. Specifically that Dark Lady. I mean, it's just ridiculous. The GPM chart, how insane it is. I mean, 600 gold per minute now for Dark Lady. Again, the rest of his team though isn't doing all too well. They haven't really done all that great throughout this game, at least when you look at the gold per minute. But The Dark Lady, because how far ahead she has been, this really is kind of that true definition of a carry. How Dark Lady literally is carrying the team. 6-1 and 7 hero kill stats. I mean, again, that's not to say that supporting cast hasn't been doing anything, because by all means they have, and without them, you know, this wouldn't be the same, obviously. But it's just, you know, Era just has been doing this so much lately, it seems like, even especially, you know, with heroes like Mage Bane, and now in this case with Dark Lady, where he just gets insane amount of GPM and just leads the way, and then eventually pulls through for the sake of the team. But it does make me wonder a little bit, too, on the side of BxF, and specifically the Puppet Master, how much crowd control they have and how aggressive their lineup can play. Yeah. They only have 8 kills in 28.5 minutes.
I mean, we haven't really seen a Puppet Master ultimate, at least I haven't caught one on camera. We haven't really seen a good ultimate stack as far as Wretched Hag and Tempest getting their ultimates at least on the same page around the same time. It seems they really haven't been able to get one of those team fights where they utilize all their crowd control and all that damage output. You know, every time we see kind of a lost team fight and some of those ultimates still off cooldown, it makes you wonder a little bit about that execution. Do you want to note, though, Dark Lady has now picked up a Nullstone. Yeah. So I was thinking earlier that that might be an option here, but over Shrunken Head's still an interesting choice.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, that was the end of my thoughts.
Oh, no, I just knocked my mouse off my desk too, but I'm pissed off at that pick. No, no, that's something I did. I was actually a little bit curious about too. We'd never mentioned it, but the Nullstone idea, obviously, you got heroes like Tundra against that Avalanche, can be very powerful against him. The problem is, I mean, there's just so many single target abilities on this Legion. And literally every hero on the Legion side has some type of single target ability. So, but that does go back to the point, if you can nullify at least one of those, then, you know, that definitely does accomplish a bit. So, but at the same time, you could also argue Shrunken Head, have that up for 10 seconds, and you become immune to pretty much all of that CC at the same time. So, yeah, I do wonder a little bit about it, but the benefits of a Nullstone over Shrunken Head 2 is, you know, the regeneration that it can provide, as well as even some better overall stats, I think. So, Glacier's going to get caught out once again, and, well, going to end up falling. So, our Hellborn supporting cast, they've definitely become more and more active, too, as this game has progressed. And although the GPM hasn't really been showing farm from them, they definitely have been I mean, look at Fntc, 3-2 and 13. So he's been pretty involved.
Yeah, definitely right. I mean, that is a lot of assists. I mean, of course, the Luna does have that global presence, so that does make getting assists a little bit easier. But, you know, even someone like Bubbles, who's been very active, he's hitting 5-1 and 9 with all that AoE damage he can put out. Pretty easy to pick up those assists. But that's a good thing to point out. I mean, Fntc definitely been very, very active in this game. You know, arguably more so than Glacius. Poor Insania has been struggling all game on Glacius. 0-7 and 3. You know, it's hard when you don't have a team that's picking up those kills, your supports aren't getting those assists, and their income is just really, really poor, and that's definitely reflecting here on the numbers.
Yeah. Well, Dark Lady yet again, or Era yet again, having another insane goal per minute mark. I mean, this is kind of one of those things where, and I hope with future events down the line, we can start keeping track of specific player stats. I did a little bit of it for the NASL season, all by hand, all manual, and it still was fun because I'm kind of a stats guy myself, but obviously a lot of work in that sense too. But the point I'm getting is that I think it would be safe to say Era has the highest goal per minute out of any player in the game, as far as overall, you know, just from game to game, the highest average goal per minute, because it just seems like every game recently he's had easily over 600 plus, no matter who he's playing. If not even 750, as we saw yesterday. So it just continues to be amazing in that sense. And the greatest thing about it too is it's not a case of, oh, he's just sitting back and farming the whole game. That's why he's 6-1 and 7. I mean, he's been involved in hero kills. He's definitely been involved with this game overall, and that's to not only to his credit, but to the discredit of Black Fan. Again, you keep scratching your head a little bit, and why haven't they paid more attention to her? Why haven't they addressed her more and more throughout this game? The fact that she only has 1 death, says something.
No, you're exactly right. And I mean, earlier on, we were sort of theory crafting a little bit. You know, there's going to be that timing window before Dark Lady's super strong, as we were sort of predicting before that Shrunken Head comes out, which obviously is never going to be the case in this game, it would seem. But they didn't really do that. If that's the strategy they were going for, Black Fade, they never really did that. They never really executed. They did some nice pushing early on, so you can see they've taken out quite a few towers. Is it 4-4 in tower kills? It's pretty close in tower kills. So Black Fade did a nice job there, but then they just kind of stopped. And they're like, wow, this Dark Lady's really strong. And it seems like that plan kind of went out the window. I mean, since then, they've been able to farm 2 Shrunken Heads, one now in the hands of Tempest, and one in the hands of Wretched Hag as well, which, I mean, they are valuable pickups, but, I mean, is that going to be enough to really stop this Dark Lady? And I don't know. That's a tricky one.
No. Well, that's your question for you. No.
Yeah, I mean, still, I mean, and Era's farm's still continuing to rise. He's now at 675 GPM. I mean, it's the longer they sit back and wait. It's not like he's leveled off at farm, and the longer they wait, they'll be able to start farming. I mean, he's still on the up. He still has an item slot. He's got 5K in the bank. There's still plenty of room for Dark Lady to improve his items here, which is just makes me wonder a little bit why Black Fade isn't trying to say, you know what, guys, let's just try one last push. Let's try something, and then if that doesn't work, we'll tap out and go into the next game. At this point, just sitting back and farming, I don't see it getting him too far.
When he activates those Dark Blade, he's max hitting for 407 damage. And, I mean, you look at his items, it's not like he has pure damage items necessarily. He doesn't have a Savage Mace. He doesn't have something like a Wingbow that would really enhance his damage. I mean, so that kind of something I want to take off of that. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually still goes for that Shrunken Head. And the cool thing about that would be it would make him immune to everything but the Avalanche from Tundra. But of course, with that Null Stone, it wouldn't matter either. So, so yeah. And obviously, with them changing the Cold Shoulder to Magic, where it used to be physical, wouldn't be able to deactivate it. But yeah, we see another Conquer kill. Once again, Token of Life on Dark. Or no, who picked it up? Wait, what?
Nobody picked up the token?
What's going on? What just happened? Did they ninja the token? What? Did we miss something?
Did Curl kill the token?
What just happened? I don't even know. Did the Curl must have killed it? Yeah.
Ask the spectators, Breaky. I dare you.
No, I mean that's the only explanation, really. What else could have happened? I mean, the Curl was in that pit, so I guess that's what happened. We just totally missed that.
I had the camera there, but I wasn't really looking, just because it's like, oh, Dark Lady's going to solo it. All right, he's going to get. I mean, that's just not something you really normally think twice about. But in your face, Dark Lady just going to right-click a Wingbow there.
No big deal.
So, not quite as good as the token, I suppose, but a pretty damn solid choice, as we noted, against that Puppet Master will help quite a bit, as he is still quite a ways off a Savage Mace, and it looks like he's working towards a Hellflower. So, interesting that they were able to do that. I guess the token dies in one hit, so it doesn't matter how much the hit is, as long as Curl's there to just finish it off.
Yeah, that's some good job by Tundra right there, no doubt.
Nice Tundra micro.
But it's kind of funny, though, because as you said, and I don't know if they would have given the Dark Lady the token of life, but it did free up an item space where he's like, all right, well, I don't have a token, I'm going to go ahead and right-click a Wingbow. So,
yeah.
How's that now?
Wingbow, arguably not quite on par with the token, though, given that it doesn't expire. You can make a pretty good case for it. So, interesting nonetheless. One of those just in-your-face moments, I suppose. But, I mean, now you talked about he didn't have too many super aggressive items. Now that he has that Wingbow, I mean, Dark Lady is a scary force. Unbuffed right now, sitting about 334 max damage. So once he uses those Dark Blades, I mean, that is some scary, scary damage.
I mean, Puppet Master has a Hellfire now. Please get active. I mean, something. I just feel like this Legion team, and I've loved watching Black Fade lately. I mean, they've been so successful. They deserve that European qualifier that they got for Dream Han. I mean, they had a great run there. We've given a lot of respect to this team. Very well-mannered team. This game, though, it just doesn't feel like they're really playing that well. I mean, they're not taking advantage of this aggressive lineup that they built. I mean, we're now 36.5 minutes in, so obviously as time goes on, may take away from that. But still, this Puppet Master specifically, I mean, SmackDown, a great player, but still 2% overall hero damage done. I mean, he's got a Hellflower now. It feels like something. They need to make something happen. they need to play more. I don't know. I mean, maybe he's sitting back and just continuing to farm, and trying to out-farm this Dark Lady and eventually the rest of the team. Maybe that is the strategy to go. Maybe I am overlooking it and whatnot, but it just feels like Black Fade not capitalizing on opportunities in the lineup that they have, which they picked for this game. So.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels out of character because, Kezu is a guy that's fairly vocal about his opinions, and he's one player that really likes that aggressive style. He doesn't really like these sit-back, that melee hard carry meta that used to be popular. That's not his style. He loves aggressive lineups. Black Fade's the team that will pick those 4 pushing lineups and win a game in 15 minutes. that's their style. They love to be aggressive. So to see them sitting back and farming, especially against a Dark Lady, not only feels out of character, but just sort of misguided, I guess, is the best way to explain it. It just feels very strange. So I'm hoping they hit the gas soon. Like you said, they've farmed their core. I mean, I don't know what else they're going to plan on farming here to try and make this happen. 2 Hellflowers should be enough. 2 Shrunken Heads. I mean, with all their spells, a big Tempest ulti, I don't think there's any superior magic over here that can interrupt Tempest. We know Bubbles cannot, thanks to our first-hand data collected yesterday.
Compliments. We 100% confirm that, damn it. Don't let us think otherwise.
100% confirm Bubbles cannot interrupt through a Shrunken Head. So they don't have anything to stop a huge Tempest ultimate with that Shrunken Head activated. And that could definitely be the tide turner here for our Legion team. But Kezu going to blink right into the Hellborn side. And down he goes. Very unfortunate for Kezu. Just an untimely blink. Absolutely no vision around this part of the map.
Well, they did, though. That's the thing. There was a ward of sight that was just counter right here. Now, it was in the tree, so I wonder if it was actually blocked. It seemed like either that was a misplaced ward, or I don't know if they actually saw it have vision like around this area, but I feel like he should have at least seen some of them coming. So, yeah, I don't know. That would just seem
I didn't see the ward go down. So, yeah, Bubbles still carrying the eye. So, yeah, that's a good point. Still unfortunate for Kezu. It's actually only his second death of the game, so he was 2-1-1, now sitting 2-2-1. So Kezu's still having a relatively good game. He does have a Slayer as well, so it looks like he's going to be moving towards that Savage Mace to counter the good old Wingbow here in the hands of Era. The Tier 2 tower in the bottom lane going to fall. That's the end of the outer towers for Black Fade, and they may even try and pressure the base here with Wretched Hag dead, although Kezu does have enough for a buyback.
Yeah, and I think that goes to the point of, obviously, Puppet Master just purchasing that Hellflower. They feel like they really need a Savage Mace, as you mentioned, the Wingbow on Dark. They definitely considered a pretty solid counter out into that. So Wretched Eye kind of stepping up and filling that role, and actually should be able to get in the very near future. Did he buy back? Yeah, he did buy back, though. So
look at that. Great play from Fnatic. They feinted the pressure. Beautiful.
Yeah, that is huge. I mean, they forced Wretched Eye to use the buyback, and so now that Savage Mace will be delayed as a result of that. He was actually getting very close to it, but buying back right there again. We'll delay him. So again, as you said, heads up play there from Fnatic, paying attention to the buybacks, and now falling back. Now the question here for Dark Lady is, where do you go from here? I mean, is it just simply save up for buybacks at this point, or do you even split up that Frostburn and then just say, screw the Firebrand, I'm just going to build a Frostal Skull? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that, but I don't know.
Actually, that might not be a bad way to go. One of the problems, with getting the Abyssal Skull early on, yeah, that was great. Yeah, it made a good early impact. But now you're kind of wishing that one of your supports was carrying this Abyssal Skull. The thing we talk about this item that's so important is it being completely ore-based. We see him headed back. Looks like he is going to split it up in the bank here. Of course, we don't have vision of that, but let's see. Looks like he did just sell the Firebrand, and there it is. Going to right-click the Frostwolf Skull. So kudos to you, Breaky CPK. Right on the money.
So apparently, again with our delay, apparently he destroyed the Token of Life, and I say he in Era. Intentionally destroyed the Token of Life. Yeah, it's one of those cases neither one of us really fully caught that, but that's hilarious.
Whoops is in order here. Whoops.
So I don't know if it's a whoops or him just basically saying no. That maybe because the Coral was there and it was going to kill it, so he said I'm going to kill it first. I don't know if that was the case, but. Yeah, it does seem kind of silly. He didn't have an inventory space. Yeah, I mean but he did buy the Wingbow right after, so maybe he just wanted that instead. I don't know. Yeah, it is kind of funny. I guess.
Well, total. That was definitely an episode of Caster Fail right there. So we can. Whew. Well, it's one of those things though. When you see games like this over and over, there are certain things you get in the habit of looking for, and stuff like that. I mean, when was the last time we saw somebody purposefully kill a token with a hard carry? I can't even think of a time that ever happened.
Yeah.
At least that I was casting, or at least the time that I noticed. Perhaps it happened I didn't notice. You never know.
Yeah, again, I'm just sitting here trying to think of logic for that. I don't know if there really is much, but I think it may have just simply been a troll. And knowing Era, he likes to have a lot of fun, and obviously with the game that he is having.
Maybe it was seeing that Curl was in the spot just so that they could actually see him do it as kind of an in-your-face. I don't even want this token. That's how little I care about Kongor. Just taking it so you can't have it.
Yeah. Well, sitting another pause here. So, I mean, Black Fate has they've been sitting on 8 kills now, it seems like, for 20 minutes plus. Like, I still can't get over that. I still can't get over that fact that Black Fate is with their lineup, with how successful. That's the crazy thing, too. It's not like they've been playing from behind this game. It's not like it's not like they've just been trying to make a comeback this whole time. It's not like they've been just turtling, hoping for the best. They've had the lead. I mean, they've been in a good spot. They were in a good spot, I should say, earlier in this game. Was Black Fade, and Dark Lady was the only hero on the Hellborn team, and even to an extent, it was matched up one-on-one with the Puppet Master when it came to the GPM. So, but Black Fade, it just doesn't feel like they've been taking advantage of their lineup. They just haven't really been making things happen. And I keep pulling up this GPM chart, expecting our Bubbles, our Miraxes, our Torture to just start taking off as well. They still continue to struggle. I mean, struggle in the sense of they're not doing shitty by any means, but they're not taking off. They're not doing great.
They're all below 300 GPM.
It literally,
pretty low.
Exactly. It literally all is this Dark Lady. It's really what it keeps coming back to. And so I keep going back to the point, why hasn't Black Fade just addressed that more? But the thing is, though, you were making some good points earlier, and I know I keep sounding like I'm frustrated with this team, because in a sense, I guess I kind of am, but at the same time, Black Fade, they actually still have a chance. If they can lock down Dark Lady, which they by all means can definitely do, they're getting some solid farm on themselves. Puppet Master, Wretched Hag, Tempest, and then of course Tundra.
I mean, you're right. We're getting to that point where pretty soon Wretched Hag and Puppet Master are going to be doing a hell of a lot of auto attack damage. So if they can manage to lock down that Dark Lady, especially, I mean, maybe if they stall until Wretched Hag finishes that Savage Mace, maybe a minute or two here until Puppet Master finishes that Genjuro. I mean, if we can see a Tundra ulti onto Dark Lady, and once that Nullstone's been burned, there's still a chance that they can burst her down, though she does have 3,000 hit points, which is twice as much as anybody in the game. So, still, that's a lot of damage they're going to have to put out on her. With 2 Hellflowers, there's some possibilities there. Definitely still some possibility to lock down this Dark Lady. But part of that's going to be Fnatic raid call to put themselves in that position. I think part of the reason why Fnatic hasn't tried to end this game as far as having Dark Lady this far is because they don't want to group up. They don't want to push the base because they know that that's a possibility. And I think that's part of the reason why this game's gone on as long as it has, given how farmed Era is.
Let's get it on.
So, it's going to be one of those situations where Fnatic's going to wait until they can pick somebody off, maybe 2 people in a micro exchange, and then just win that numbers battle and then push the base. But as far as a 5v5, head-on engage, especially into the base, I think Fnatic is a little bit too patient and a little bit too experienced to fall into that trap.
Huh. So, Moraxis just purchased an Abyssal Skull. And that makes me believe that Dark Lady is going to sell her Abyssal Skull and make something else. Because obviously,
I would hope so.
It just doesn't make too much sense to have 2 of those. It is definitely a powerful item, but having 2 of them seems kind of silly. But yeah, so that's just a case of preparing for Dark Lady to sell the Abyssal Skull herself, I'm sure, so she can get yet another item. In fact, did she just sell her Rune Cleaver? She did, okay. So she sells her Rune Cleaver instead, and she buys a level 4 Rift Shards. So I'm a little bit confused by that, but at the same time, whatever. I mean, I guess. Cool. The only reason to keep an Abyssal Skull really is a case of, in case I don't happen to be next to Moraxis, so I can take benefit of those aura effects, obviously, but it just seems kind of silly to have 2 at the same time. But again, so at that point, though, too, I mean, now that she has level 4 Rift Shards, as this game continues to go on, which, honestly, with the way it's been going, I wouldn't be surprised, now she can even invest into another item here, but, so, and it's not like she needs the Rune Cleaver at this point, let's be honest, so.
Well, that's a good point. It does make sense. Things are definitely starting to come together a little bit, and I'm actually I'm sort of tabbed out closing some stuff here because I was getting a couple of frame drops, so I'm trying to free up some processing space. So sorry, Breaky, I really wasn't listening to you, I have to admit.
All good.
So sorry.
Well, Dark Lady did buy a level 4 Rift Shards. I don't know if you heard that.
Yes, I know. I did see that. I was just sort of tabbing in and out. I was looking, not really listening. But you're right. Like you said, it's interesting she didn't sell the... Even though the Rune Cleaver isn't as useful now, why sell that before the Abyssal Skull? And I think you were just talking about that as far as, if I'm not next to Miraxis, okay. And I guess that's a fair point, but it still seems a little strange. Just like Kongor is a few seconds from respawning here, as Era is happily awaiting his arrival in the Kongor pit. So we'll see. Is he going to kill the token, though, Breaky? That's my question.
Is he going to accidentally slip up and kill the token? We'll see. Now, again, kind of just touching on Rune Cleaver real quickly, and, a lot of people would just simply think of it, God, he's trading for 1,300, by the way, that's ridiculous, but, Simply just a farming, enhancing your farm utility tool. A great thing about actually having a Rune Cleaver later on in the game even, and why we will see some melee heroes still have that later on, is to just clean up the creep waves. Yep. Very, very quickly. Now, obviously, to Dark Lady's benefit, she has her Charging Strikes ability, and can by all means clean them up pretty quickly with that even, so not necessarily the biggest deal that she doesn't have the Rune Cleaver. But there we go, she sells the Abyssal Skull, and she did actually pick up the Token of Life this time. Bananas picked up by Moraxis, so we do have, that was of course the third Conger kill with that set. So here we go, I think it's now a case of Fnatic finally saying, alright, we are good now. We may actually have a big battle coming up. It seems like forever since we've had some action going on, but Savage Mace was also just purchased on Wretched Hag, so that's definitely a big item for the Legion team to pick up here.
Yep. Interesting. Puppet Master actually not going to go for the Genjiro. He said, you know what, I'm going to need that true damage, so he went with a Slayer, pooling about 2,300 gold, so he's still a little ways off. That Savage Mace still needs another 1,000 or so, which is definitely going to hold them back a little bit. The Nullstone from Dark Lady has been burned. Glacius going to run out there, and that could open a window of opportunity here. Era getting dangerously close to overcommitting, though, backs up kind of just in the nick of time there. I mean, Tundra does have that portal key, so if they were really looking for that engage, he could have hopped in there and dropped that Avalanche to start things off. But alas, Black Fade playing a little bit more defensively here. And I don't know, it looks like Fnatic, they're looking for that window of opportunity, but they're not too aggressive, and they are going to start to fan out a little bit. See the Tundra Bird coming out for some scouting, and here it is. The Avalanche going to be used on the Torturer. So there's the engage. Black Fade going to take him by the haunches here and just go straight for it. Wretched Hag now going to go in. They're going to try and engage onto Moraxis. The Arcane Shield was used, but it looks like he does have a Haste Rune on as well. And there we go. The engage continuing. Wretched Hag going to use that ultimate, or that Shrunken Head. Tempest going to go ahead and Shrunken Head ulti here. He's going to catch Moraxis, but that's about it. I'm going to catch Dark Lady as well. Pardon me. No Tail does fall. Era does turn it around onto Pablo McDad. Oh my gosh. The token is burned, though, and it is just a cataclysmic team fight here. Both sides really annihilating one another. We see Dark Lady Moraxis, the only two left alive on the Hellborn side. Hag, the only one left alive on the Legion side. She's going to try to blink. It is going to get canceled, and the Genocide comes out. Era picking up the hat trick, and Fnatic Raid Call going to win that team fight by a pretty big margin. A couple of buybacks are available. Who has them? Tempest and Puppet Master. Puppet Master going to burn his right now, as will Tempest. Are they going to be able to hold this off, though, is my question.
Wow, I mean, that fight was pretty damn epic, that's for sure. But obviously that Token of Life, the big deal right there. Dark Lady even getting the bananas now from Moraxis, so just in case. But we did see the Legion team, and the Clutch Tempest Ultimate actually was fully channeled. It did catch Dark Lady in it amongst a couple other heroes, I believe, so accomplished well. But the buybacks coming out here, and they are going to be able to drop Moraxis, actually. But now, can they catch Dark Lady is the question. She actually is going to stay in to take out the melee racks, but I believe she will be fine in terms of getting away altogether. So when it's all said and done, I mean, a lot of heroes died. Obviously, a good amount of buybacks used really on both sides. Torture using it for the Hellborn team, but a couple over here, I believe, Puppet Master and Tempest, both using the buybacks themselves. So they did lose the melee racks. Honestly, though, again, I still feel Black Fade, and especially what we saw out of that fight at the very least, not by any means over. I mean, They show that if they can coordinate, if they can get things working, and if Puppet Master can sit back, that if they can catch Dark Lady without a Token of Life, which obviously in the near future that would be the timing now, before they get another Conger kill, then very likely that they can make some things happen here. So this is definitely a game, though, that's kind of feeling like buybacks. It may end up ultimately coming down to that, though, at the same time.
Yeah, and it's definitely feeling like that a little bit. It looks like in that fight, Fly did use a buyback as well. At least he's down a buyback, and I think that was the time he used it, as he got picked off to sort of start that engage. But you're absolutely right, and the fact that Fnatic Raid Call's ahead in that regard is definitely good news. And they still have a pretty nice golden experience lead set up for themselves. So we'll see. I mean, that play from Araxis to kind of dive the towers here to allow Dark Lady that opportunity to finish off the melee racks, I think was probably a smart play. Of course, going to give Fnatic that mid-lane control, and if they push these other lanes, that'll make everything a little bit easier and force Black Fade to be even more defensive than they would like to be. And as we saw there as well, I mean, Black Fade definitely doesn't have a problem getting aggressive if they think the opportunity is right, because they were the ones to actually engage that fight outside of their base, and it seemed Fnatic almost wasn't quite ready for that. They seemed very confident that Black Fade was going to stay turtled up, stay defensive, and, of course, Fly just getting caught kind of with his pants down a little bit.
Yeah, that definitely happened. So this GPM chart, though, I still can't get over it. Like, I just feel like it hasn't changed. It literally has been the same look for the last 30 minutes. It's just been looking like that. So, anyways, Puppet Master's damage did increase after that last team fight. That's a good news. It went from 2% to 6%.
So I actually did look at that. I did observe here.
Doing a bit right there, and that shows you that he can dish out a good chunk of damage if he has that opportunity. So,
yeah.
Man, this game, though, I'm not going to lie, it has had its dull moments here for the last 25 minutes or so, other than the last team fight that we saw.
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe it does go to show you that both these teams definitely taking this pretty seriously, going against one another, and the pride factor that we always like to talk about, as well as the $500 prize pool on the line here. The semifinal matchup for the It's Gosu. Game 1, mind you, of this best of 3, so this will only be the first game, and no matter what happens, we will be having at least that second game, of course, so definitely hang in for that. But here we go again. It looks like Fnatic is going to start gripping up top now. And you see them getting a middle creep wave push as well, so this is actually a pretty good timing push by Fnatic. Great call. In fact, Tundra going to jump it, but at what cost right there? Holy crap, gets turned around on Dark Lady critting for 1248, I believe was the number I saw pop up right there. I mean, he just melted to the ground. Gotta kind of wonder what Tundra was ultimately thinking right there.
Yeah, I'm not so sure either. We're going to see Puppet Master come in here. Dark Lady's Nullstone going to be burned. Tempest going to come in. There's the ultimate, but the Storm Spirit on Dark Lady to minimize the effectiveness. It doesn't matter, though. Era gets completely obliterated. Though it looks like Fnatic Recall may still have an opportunity here. They're going to pick up a kill onto Kezu as well as a kill onto Insania, and they're going to try and reset this fight. It is a 4v2 situation here. Dark Lady going to buy back right away. Going to use those boots of travel to get down here, so it's now a 5v3 situation. Puppet Master is going to be able to purchase that Savage Mace now. I don't think it's going to be enough, however. The GG well-playeds come out, and it looks like Fnatic Recall going to be able to take game number 1 here as we move into game 2.
Yeah, buyback, as I said, definitely a game that very likely going to come down to buybacks, and kind of saw that in the end right there. The quick buyback immediately as Dark Lady died, and she got bursted down. I mean, it was a great Storm Spirit to save her initially, but she definitely got taken out quite fast after that. But still, buying back, pointing to the creep wave, and right back in it, where the Legion team was just too handicapped at that point. There was no way they were going to come back from that, so definitely not surprised at all to see the conceive out there, and Fnatic deserving of the victory, or should I say Era. I mean, once again having a hell of a game there, and finish the game with 730 GPM, at least that's what the chart says there. 827 experience per minute on top of that. I mean, he just destroyed that game, but you keep going back, at least I keep going back to, you know, Black Fade, and really, as great as Fnatic played, I do think Black Fade, they kind of threw some opportunities away themselves. So,
No, definitely right. So that does wrap up game number 1, guys. We're going to move into game number 2 here in just a moment. I think I'm going to reset my Han client. I don't know where my frame drops were coming from, but Han appears to, I don't know if it's my computer, Han, mixture of the two, XSplit, just the fact that we have Breaky CPK on the call. Could be absolutely anything. So sit tight for game number 2 here as fiddle around with some of these stream settings.